group tonight?
Well, it was a sensational performance. You've got a veteran leader that's had 16 years in the league, and even with devoid of a championship, is still recognized as one of the greatest point guards to have ever played this game. But when you couple that with the inabilities of the Milwaukee Bucks, you look at CP3 and you say, well, duh, what did you expect from him? When you're going to put Bobby Portis on them, when you got Brook Lopez on them, when you got P.J. Tucker on them. Wilbon and I were just talking about that a few minutes ago. What the hell do you expect is going to happen? It is mind-boggling to me how I don't want to be insulting, but absolutely clueless the Milwaukee Bucks appeared last night in being prepared for this game. You know that CP3 and Devin Booker, you know what they're going to give to you, particularly when they're hitting their perimeter shots. But a guy like CP3 is literally picking defenders. Who am I going to pick on next? Right. And absolutely, positively no adjustment was made whatsoever, and that's why he looked so spectacular.
So you didn't want to be insulting, but they were clueless.
Yeah, I'm trying to be. Look, Scott, man, I'm trying to be nice, but at the same time, give you and our audience what it is. Tim Legler was right there. He's far nicer than me, I guess. But the bottom line is he knows exactly what I'm saying. If you look at the adjustments and then look at the ball movement, look at how Monty Williams has these guys moving without the ball. But Milwaukee was standing around and just trying to give the ball to Middleton.
I understand, and I'm trying to be nice to you, but Chris Paul's standing by, and so I'm going to have to say thank you for now, and we will welcome Chris Paul to the show. Chris, thank you. It's Scott Van Pelt. Welcome back to the program. A tremendous performance tonight.
What's happening?
You've been through so much in this game. There's nothing that's new to you, and yet this was, right? This is the first finals game, and I wonder what, if anything, about it felt different than anything you have experienced to date in your illustrious career.
Another game, obviously. The stakes a little higher. The intensity was there, but we're prepared. Our coaches prepared us. All of our guys on our team, we didn't put in the work, so now it's time to get to it.
And you did get to it, and just your ability to find the matchup you wanted and exploit it, was that what you came into this game sort of eyeballing? This is what we want to try to do.
Well, you take what they give you. When they played big, they switched early, then they sort of went into a sort of a drop. Then they went small. We saw them switching everything against the Hawks. So, we done seen every coverage you could see all season long, and our team just has so much depth. So if you try to take one thing away, we'll just find the next guy.
In Booker, Ayton, Bridges, and I'm talking just about the young guys for the moment, just because this is their first run through the postseason, Chris. You've been through it so often. I don't know if proud's the right word, but how do you best describe what you're getting from these young guys and how you feel about what you're getting?
I kind of talk crazy to them sometimes because they're going to think it's sweet. They first time getting in the playoffs and they done got all the way to the finals.
Right.
But I think it's just a credit to them. Especially Book. He's the one who's been here the longest, been through some tough seasons here in Arizona and Phoenix. So it's nice, man. It's a great group to be around, and we just want to keep having fun.
And I keep going back to you knowing what it is, because you do. And there are still 3 to get, and no one's throwing a parade after tonight. But how are you best able to stay present, Chris, in these moments, recognizing what the stakes are with each victory, how much closer the ultimate prize becomes?
With me, it may be the experience, the heartbreak, the tough losses, and understanding that it's not over till it's over. It's just one game. We here at home, we're supposed to win at home. Game 2 is the biggest game of the season right now. So with me, it's just about staying the course and making sure my guys stay locked in.
Well, Chris, I appreciate you stopping by after the victory. 3 more to get. Hopefully we can talk to you again throughout the process. I appreciate you being here.
Always, Scott. Appreciate you. Go Deeks.
There you go. Chris Paul, after a tremendous performance. And Stephen A., I'll welcome you back in. You heard what he had to say about the performances of these young guys. I'll get to you just in 1 second, Stephen A. You see a 30-point game in the NBA Finals at 36 or older all time. Kareem's on that list. He was ageless. Tim Duncan, you could say the same about him. And now Chris Paul, in his first NBA Finals game, joins that list. I was Wanted to get back to you, Stephen A., just to get your thoughts about what you heard, specifically about the youngsters, because this is their first playoff run, whether it's Booker or Ayton or Bridges. What are you seeing from those guys in complementing what Paul is providing?
Well, first of all, I'm seeing skill. Devin Booker is a star. This brother is special, and tonight was the latest example of how special he can be. Let's give major props to DeAndre Ayton. He had about 22 points, 19 rebounds, and was a constant presence and force throughout this evening. Mikal Bridges came off and hit a couple of threes. Obviously, Cameron Payne, he doesn't shoot much, but when he puts it up, it usually goes in. I'm sorry, not Cameron Payne, but Cameron Johnson. And then you look at Cameron Payne, what he comes in, what he's capable of doing off the bench. But it's a tribute and a credit to them that they're willing to listen to the tutors, to the just the leadership and the guidance from a veteran like CP3. In today's generation of players, so many times we look at youngsters and they've got the skill, and because they've got the skill, Scott, as you've reported on so many occasions, they've got the skills, they've got the bag, they know what they can bring to the table, and as a result, they feel they have arrived, that they don't necessarily need to listen to anybody. But
Right.
CP3 comes here, devoid of a championship, having had that escape him throughout his illustrious 16-year career, and despite the absence of a championship, they treat him like a champion because they respect the knowledge that he's trying to bless them with and the level of wisdom that he's imparted upon them. And so you got to give them credit where credit is due. To be young, to be established, to have the money, to have the skill set, to have all the adulation thrown in their direction, and to still be humbled enough to be held in check by a leader searching for his first championship, not one that came here as a champion. You got to give credit where credit is due. It shows that although they're young, they're incredibly mature, and they showed it tonight by being prepared for game one and pretty much throughout these playoffs. Every single series they've walked into, they've come here prepared and ready to play and put somebody else on their heels to start the playoffs. You got to give credit where credit is due in that regard.
I agree. Really well put. There's a lot to like about being out in the Valley, but there's one thing that's the challenge, and that's that wake-up call comes early. And I know first take will be, I'm looking at my watch, you got to get some early rest to get up early and bring the heat tomorrow. I appreciate you.
I'm good, but please don't say bring the heat. It's 106 degrees already here, okay?
Yeah, but it's a dry heat. You don't sweat?
I don't care. It's heat. Listen, I ain't going to complain. I like the heat better than the cold, so I ain't going to front. But it's roasting here. Roasting.
Turn the AC
you have
up,
a tan
my guy.
already, Scott.
I know your suite is
I
know your suite is well looked after. Stephen A. Smith, I appreciate you, man.
Like that.
What are they going to do with that middle pick and roll? What are they going to do with CP?
Phoenix was just so much more prepared, so much more confident.
You got to take away one of the two guys. You can't have all three of Ayton, Booker, and Paul all getting off. So I think these are big challenges because there are no easy answers to the pick and roll game of Phoenix.
This is how we do it.
Keyshawn, J. Will, Zubin, ESPN Radio. Presented by Progressive Insurance. Alan Hahn, Monica McNutt here. J. Will in Phoenix for the NBA Finals. And we are joined on the Goodyear Hotline by John Barry, ESPN Radio NBA analyst, former player as well, also in Phoenix. And they say it's a dry heat, right, John?
Oh, yeah, sure is. Well, hey, first of all, congrats to Monica for the finals debut. Knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
Congrats to Alan for the Knicks being somewhat relevant. And congratulations to Jay Williams for getting up. But was he on hour one? Was he on hour one?
I was
up.
not on
if I
hour
wasn't
one,
playing
Jay.
golf, you guys would not have me here, by the way. And can I get a bite with me saying something? Did I not say anything on the air last night during the game? I hear Gundy, TJ, Doris. Geez, Kestisha, what's the deal?
No love, JB.
I listened to
where
you,
are you
JB.
playing, JB?
You were
First off,
excellent.
where are you playing? You can't say you're
I'm
about
going
to play
out
golf.
to I got True North. We got a 6:27 a.m. time, and then Paradise Valley this afternoon for the second 18.
You're going out this afternoon?
Wow.
Tremendous day.
Of course.
That's gonna need an umbrella.
It's gonna be like 110 today.
Hey, man.
Sunblock, JB.
Sun's out. Sun's out. I got to smell the grass.
Somebody's got priorities, Jay.
I see it.
But still, and yeah. By the way, why haven't we heard JB in any of these calls? We gotta have to work on that.
We haven't.
Talk to our producers.
But Monica again with the debut on the pre and
was
post.
a
So
blast.
again, great job by you.
Thank you.
And also by Chris Paul. John, are we looking at a Suns team, like our irrational takes after game one, right? We always do this. We overreact on everything. It's like week one of the NFL, all right? We predict a team going into the playoffs. I'm looking at game one, and I'm looking at the way the Suns were able to play their preparation and also what the Bucks didn't do defensively against them. And I'm looking at it and thinking to myself, the Suns have got this series because I just don't see how the Bucks can adjust enough and whether or not Giannis can do enough to overcome what Chris Paul and the Suns were able to do in game one. Agree or disagree?
Well, I'm going to agree that I'm not saying that this is over. Remember, you go back to the Atlanta series in the conference final for Milwaukee. Trae Young had 48 in game one, and it's the same play. I mean, it's the high screen and roll. And they decided to stay big in that game one. They switched with Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis or whatever big they use up there, and they got torched by Trae Young. They went to a more switching defense as the series progressed. And then fortunately for them, Trae Young went out. So maybe they do need Chris Paul to go out to have a chance to win. But no, look, they're going to get better. But again, the high pick and roll, you can't give great players the same look. And if you get the same look, obviously we saw Chris Paul just toying with whoever it was, right, whether it be Portis or Lopez or Bryn Forbes got a lot of it too. They're going to have to just change it up. And again, a steady diet of the same thing is not going to work.
JB, I was curious, why don't you think we see Coach Bud do more things like, play a box and one or a triangle and two, or give you different looks via zone wise? And I know that Phoenix obviously can shoot the ball, but just watching those in-game adjustments, why don't you think we see more of that?
I don't know. You have a style that you play, and you believe in it, and you just believe that you just have to do it better. I'm with you. I'm trying anything, particularly when a guy's got it going. I want to make the best player not be able to do the things that he does best. What does Chris Paul do best? He plays pick and roll and he gets in the mid-range. So I'm not going to allow that to happen. It's like I'm not letting Michael Jordan take the last shot of a game. Steve Kerr buried one, John Paxson buried one, but I'm going to take my chances with that. Aren't my odds better by doing that? So I'm going to make Jay Crowder, who didn't make a shot last night, make some shots when it's down the stretch. I'm going to get it out of the hands of Booker. I'm going to get it out of the hands of Paul and make them do their second or third option. That's what the playoffs is all about. Do not let a team get to their first option.
All right, JB, so let's say that the Bucks devise a scheme defensively that allows them to slow the pick and roll but not necessarily contain. What do they need to do offensively? Because I was kind of struck by the fact that they didn't really look to get out in transition either.
Yeah, well, the Bucks, I don't think play very intelligently on the offensive end at times.
That's a really nice way of saying it, JB.
Pardon me?
That's a really nice way of saying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, they had games against Atlanta where they lived in the paint. They had 28 points in the first quarter of a game in the Eastern Conference Finals in the paint. I think last night they had 28 at half. Things start working for them, and then they get away from it. And, the more as I've watched them doing the whole Eastern Conference Finals and then here, they don't have a Chris Paul, right? They don't have a point guard that's an extension of their staff to get their team into all the things that they need to do that are successful. And that's no fault of any player on the Bucks. Drew Holiday is not a point guard. Drew Holiday is a combo guard. He's a basketball player, and he's damn good at everything he does. But they don't have somebody that can get this team into the sets and get them where they need to be, like a Chris Paul. And I did Philadelphia, Atlanta as well. They don't have it either. Ben Simmons, to me, is not truly a point guard. So having a Chris Paul or a John Stockton or a Magic Johnson or any of these great point guards is invaluable, that a coach doesn't have to call all the plays. And look, Bud wants to give them freedom. He wants to give Middleton freedom to play one-on-one, Giannis and Drew. But one-on-one basketball in the playoffs doesn't always work.
I don't want to glaze over the fact that Giannis played, right? Because it is pretty remarkable that he can go for 20 and 17 a week after even he admitted he wasn't sure if he was going to play for a year after that knee injury. You know, you obviously played and you understand exactly how this stuff works. How surprised were you that he played and how effective he was?
I'm stunned he played. I apologized on the air last night to Golick and Shanae because I said it was all fluff that they put him at questionable. Because I said there's no way he's playing. He looked good, and it's a great positive sign for the Milwaukee Bucks that I think his lack of aggressiveness was basically because he was tired. I don't think it had anything to do with the knee. And he said that after the game. The knee felt great. His rhythm was off, his timing. And you know when you don't play for a week of NBA basketball, riding a bike is not going to have you in shape. He was tired. He was bending over a lot. So he's just going to get better and better as long as nothing happens to the knee. It's a great sign. He was great on the boards. I thought he had great moments. And for Milwaukee, it's a tremendous sign because he's going to be back to Giannis, hopefully for them, here in the next couple of ball games.
It just shows you too, like, athletes versus regular people. The rest of us would still have crutches wrapped up, probably need a week off from work where we sit for a living. He's back in an NBA game a week later after an injury like that. Pretty remarkable stuff. JB, hit him straight, as they say. Enjoy the heat.
I like to curve it, but thank you.
Whatever works for you. John Barry, ESPN Radio NBA analyst on the Goodyear Hotline. So coming up, the road to the NFL training camp continues. Jay, we're 14 days away, Jay.
14?
14! How confident is Jay that his Giants, the G-Men, could be contenders this year? We'll ask him after I tell you about Indeed. The reasons to find your next hire with Indeed are starting to add up. Look at the numbers. Instant Match searches millions of resumes in Indeed's database.